Video opens on a grainy, overexposed shot of a nondescript Japanese office building from the 1980s. The image is slightly distorted, as if from a VHS tape. Soft, ambient synth music plays, melancholic and sparse. Have you ever felt it? That quiet, persistent hum beneath the noise of your daily life. A feeling not of arrogance, but of clarity. A troubling certainty that you see the cracks in the world that everyone else walks right over. This isn't about thinking you're better than everyone. It's about the lonely, nagging suspicion that you might be the only one who's truly awake. We call this feeling the God Sama complex. It's the voice that whispers, if only they would listen. And by the end of this session, you won't just understand the psychology of the man who weaponized this feeling to lead thousands into the dark. You will understand the part of you that could follow him. And the part that could become him. God Sama. The psychology of a cult leader. The scene shifts to a montage of mundane, 1990s Japanese life. Commuters on a train, salarymen eating ramen, a child playing with a cheap plastic toy. The images are fading, like forgotten photographs. Let's be honest with ourselves. You're in a meeting at work. A plan is presented. Everyone nods. The numbers make sense, the logic is sound. But you feel a dissonance. You see the flaw, the human variable they haven't accounted for, the inevitable point of failure 3 months down the line. You raise your hand, or you don't. It rarely matters. The current carries on, and you are left on the shore, watching them drift towards a waterfall only you can see. Or you're with friends. They're talking about politics, about the future, about their lives. And their certainty is terrifying. They speak in slogans, in recycled opinions, in comforting narratives that fall apart under the slightest pressure. You stay quiet. Because to explain what you see would take hours. It would require them to dismantle the very foundations of their world. It's easier to just nod. To be a ghost at the table. This is the internal state of the God Sama complex. It's not a feeling of grandeur. It is a feeling of profound, unshakable loneliness. A sense of being a different species, operating on a different frequency. The world becomes a script that only you have read. Everyone else is just an actor, reciting their lines, hitting their marks, oblivious to the stage directions. And you are the unwilling audience, the silent director. And here is the hidden cost, the quiet tax on this perception. When you believe you hold the only true map, everyone else becomes one of three things. A lost child to be guided, a fool to be pitied, or an obstacle to be moved. Empathy becomes a strategic calculation. Connection becomes a tool. Slowly, imperceptibly, the world of people transforms into a world of objects. And you are the only subject. This is the fertile ground. This is where the seed of the monster is planted. The scene shifts. We see a close-up of a dusty, forgotten file folder. The label, written in Japanese katakana, reads, Project Kageyama. Project Kageyama. The folder is opened, revealing grainy, black and white surveillance photos of a charismatic man in his 40s, surrounded by adoring followers. To understand how this seed blossoms, we must go into the archives. To a case study that officially does not exist. They called him Kageyama Sensei. The Shadow Mountain Teacher. He wasn't a fire and brimstone preacher. His voice was calm. His smile was gentle. He built a community that reporters called a cult, but which members called the family. He promised nothing less than a new reality. But the key to Kageyama's method, the secret to his power, is a devastating paradox. The man who becomes a god for others does so because, on the inside, he is utterly, terrifyingly empty. His entire world is a carefully constructed performance designed to fill an internal void so vast it threatens to swallow him whole. He doesn't create a new world for his followers. He meticulously recreates his own psychological prison and convinces them it is a paradise. To understand his power is to understand three fundamental principles of psychological gravity. First, is the principle of the empty mirror. Kageyama had no fixed identity. To the lost young man, he was the father he never had, stern, but loving. To the disillusioned intellectual, he was a philosopher king, speaking truths the academy was too cowardly to confront. To the lonely widow, he was a source of unwavering warmth and community. He was a perfect reflection of his followers' deepest, most unfulfilled needs. Think of it. When you feel truly seen, for the first time in your life, the person who sees you becomes a savior. But the empty mirror does not see you. It sees your emptiness, your desires, your wounds, and it reconfigures its own surface to be the perfect shape to fill that void. The follower feels a profound connection, a sense of being understood at a soul-deep level. But one cannot have a relationship with a mirror. You can only have a relationship with your own reflection. It is the loneliest bond in the world. The second is the principle of the shared narrative. Humans cannot live without story. We will take a chaotic, meaningless universe and we will impose a plot upon it. Kageyama did not sell a complex theology or a rigid set of rules. He sold a story. A story so simple, so powerful, it was like a drug. And it's a story you already know. It goes like this. The world you see is a lie, controlled by a corrupt, shadowy force. You have always felt that something was wrong, and you were right. You are not strange or broken. You are one of the few who can see the truth. You have a special role to play in a great, cosmic struggle. And I, your guide, will show you how to win. This narrative does three magical things. It validates the follower's sense of alienation. It provides a clear, identifiable enemy to blame for all their suffering. And it elevates their mundane life into an epic adventure. The lonely accountant is no longer just an accountant, he is a warrior of the light, a keeper of secret knowledge. His life has meaning. It has stakes. The shared narrative is the ultimate cure for insignificance. And finally, the third and most insidious principle, the principle of gradual escalation. No cult leader ever asks for your life on the first day. Kageyama didn't. He started with a cup of tea. He asked for an hour of your time. He invited you to a seminar. Then, he asked for a small donation. Then he suggested you bring a friend. Then he asked you to volunteer, to help with the community. Each step is a micro-commitment. A small yes. And with every yes, your identity becomes more entwined with the group. To say no to the next, bigger request, to move into the commune, to quit your job, to sever ties with your family, would be to admit that all your previous yeses were a mistake. It would be to invalidate your own judgment, to collapse your own story. It's the parable of the boiling frog. The heat is turned up so slowly, so imperceptibly, that you don't realize you are being cooked until you are too weak to jump out. Your cage is not built of steel bars. It is built from 1,000 of your own small agreements. The visual shifts to an analogy. We see an old piece of Japanese pottery, beautifully repaired with gold lacquer, kintsugi. The voiceover becomes more intimate. Imagine Kageyama's method as a form of psychological kintsugi. He is a master craftsman of the human soul. He doesn't look for the strong and the whole. He looks for the broken. He finds the cracks in your life, the loneliness, the failure, the sense of meaninglessness. But instead of helping you heal, he does something else. He fills those cracks with a beautiful, shining gold. And that gold is his narrative. His validation. His community. The result is stunning. You feel more whole, more beautiful, more valuable than ever before. But there is a terrible price. Your structural integrity is now dependent on his gold. You cannot separate from him without shattering into 1,000 pieces. He has not healed you. He has made you his masterpiece. So, the archives are closed. The case of Kageyama Sensei is filed away. But the principles remain. The God-Sama complex isn't just a pathology for charismatic manipulators in some forgotten file. It is a latent potential within the human psyche. It is a dark path that begins with the noble desire for a better world, for clarity in the chaos. The question is not how we stop the next Kageyama. The question is how we stop the Kageyama from growing inside ourselves. This is not a theoretical exercise. This is a practical guide to self-excavation. A way to audit the architecture of your own mind, to ensure you are the master of your own house. Here are 5 techniques to dismantle the God-Sama complex before it takes root. 1. Conduct a narrative audit. Tonight, or tomorrow, take a piece of paper. At the top, write, the story of my life. Now, write it. But not as a series of events. Write it as a story. What is the genre? Is it a tragedy? A hero's journey? A siege? Most importantly, identify the characters. Who is the recurring villain? Is it a parent? A former boss? The system? And who is the hero? Be honest. Is it always you? If your life is a constant struggle of a righteous hero against a world of fools and villains, you are living inside a shared narrative of your own making. The first step to freedom is to recognize the story you tell yourself is just a story. It is not objective reality. 2. Practice radical intellectual charity. The next time you are in a disagreement, your goal is not to win. It is not to prove the other person wrong. Your goal is to understand their position so perfectly that you can articulate it back to them, and they respond, yes. That is exactly what I mean. This is excruciatingly difficult. It requires you to silence your own inner narrator and truly inhabit another person's reality. This practice systematically dismantles the hero-fool dynamic. It forces you to see the world not as a collection of obstacles to your truth, but as a collection of other subjects, each with their own map. 3. Identify your empty mirror. For the next week, become a detective of your own personality. Carry a small notebook. After every significant social interaction, with your boss, your partner, a cashier, your parents, take 30 seconds to jot down. Who was I just now? Were you the dutiful son? The brilliant employee? The charming friend? The aloof intellectual? We all wear masks. That is not the danger. The danger is in having no face underneath. Or worse, the danger is believing one of those masks is your true self. The God-Sama complex thrives in the man who has no core, who becomes a chameleon to gain approval and control. Find out who you are when no one is watching. That is your anchor. 4. Embrace positive disintegration. The cult leader preys on those who cannot tolerate ambiguity. He finds people in moments of crisis, a lost job, a broken heart, a crisis of faith, and he offers them the most seductive thing in the world: certainty. Your defense is to learn to live in the gray. When you feel lost, confused, or that your worldview is collapsing, your instinct will be to scramble for a new, simple answer. A new ideology. A new leader. A new story. Do not sit in the discomfort. Tolerate the void. This is what the Polish psychologist Kazimierz Dąbrowski called positive disintegration. It is the painful but necessary process of dissolving a lower-level personality to integrate into a higher one. The void is not something to be filled. It is a space to grow. 5. Schedule a commitment to escalation. Look at your life. Your job, your relationships, your beliefs. Are there any boiling frog situations? Is there any area where you have been slowly, imperceptibly, giving away more and more of yourself? Your time? Your values? Your autonomy? This week, take one conscious, deliberate step backward. Reclaim a single, small piece of ground. It could be as simple as saying no to a request you would normally say yes to. Or skipping one meeting. Or spending one evening doing something only for yourself, that serves no one else's agenda. This is not about being selfish. It is about reminding yourself that you are the one in control of the temperature of your own water. Does this work? Is this just philosophy, or is there proof in the system? We can find it in the Kageyama case files. His most successful recruits were never the strong, the certain, the self-possessed. He preyed on those in the midst of their own positive disintegration, students who had left home, professionals who had lost their jobs, idealists whose narrative audit of society had left them in despair. He found people drowning in the gray, and he offered them a world of black and white. He offered them a shortcut. But the proof extends far beyond this one forgotten file. In 1971, at Stanford University, the psychologist Philip Zimbardo created a mock prison in a basement. He took ordinary, healthy, psychologically stable college students and randomly assigned them to be either prisoners or guards. Within 6 days, the experiment had to be shut down. The guards had become sadistic and abusive. The prisoners had become passive, broken, and traumatized. Those students were not evil. They were given a powerful, simple, shared narrative, guard versus prisoner, and it overrode a lifetime of personal morality. They were given a role, and they played it to perfection. They were given a mirror, and they became the reflection they saw. The God-Sama complex, you see, does not require a singular leader. Sometimes, all it requires is a compelling story and a uniform. The logic is undeniable. We are biological storytelling machines. Our brains are designed to take the terrifying chaos of existence and weave it into a coherent plot. It is our greatest strength, and our most profound vulnerability. The man who can control the story, controls the world. By understanding these mechanisms, we can immunize ourselves. We can learn to be the author of our own story, and not just a character in someone else's. We have been in the archives for a long time. The dust is settling. The question now is what you will take with you when you leave. In the comments below, I want you to answer one question. What is a small, personal truth you hold that you feel nobody else understands? You don't need to explain it or defend it. Just state it. Let's see how unique our private realities really are. If you find yourself thinking about these questions long after the screen goes dark, you're in the right place. Subscribe to Hello, Yesterday, and join us in the search for the patterns in the static. The God-Sama complex is ultimately an attempt to impose absolute control on reality. But what happens when you lose control completely? When the self you've built dissolves entirely? In our next session, we will explore that very abyss in our video, the egoless state, paranoia and the loss of self in 90s cyberpunk. Click here to continue the investigation.